Well, we met for 2 sessions combined of about 2 hours and had a civil conversation. We presented our further counteroffers to the 4 bills that we started on yesterday. We cut another $48 million, $48,670,000 from the reductions we made before, which were $74 million. So combined, we're at 122,670,000, and didn't get a specific response to them. So we'll see if they consider those to be meaningful cuts. We consider them to be very serious cuts and offer, very sincere. And then we spent a good part of time talking about Health and Human Services. Their number in their offer was $470 million cut. We said, we really need to know where that's going to take effect on real people's lives in Minnesota. And we need to reconcile some of our numbers on the Healthcare Access Fund based on the reinsurance, of course, some of their numbers on the inflation assumptions, so that we get down to a real agreed upon starting point for Health and Human Services. And then we could get into a discussion of, well, if you want to cut $100 million, where's that coming from? $200 million, $500 million? Yeah, but it's got to talk about not numbers, real people's lives. So and said then, and given that we came with the first offers for the 4 bills we've been talking about yesterday and today, we asked them to make the first offers on E12 education, on Health and Human Services, which we may have to set aside until we get some further work done on state government, and on environment. And so wait to see, but my expectation at this point is, with absence of anything to the contrary, that they will come back. And again, they have numbers on a piece of paper, but I said I really want greater specificity on where these numbers are. On the E12, if you take a 2% increase in the formula, that's $371 million. That's the whole amount. So that means nothing for pre-K and nothing for special education and nothing for anything else. On the state governments, they want to cut $40 million. They said, we want to hear in some detail where you want those cuts to be made. That's based on our fulfilling our statutory responsibilities in the state agencies for things that previous legislators and governors have agreed upon and signed into law. So with $40 million less, what do they want us not to do? And what's the basis for that? And given that they raised their own budgets and they have a carry forward from the funds they have accumulated that they won't allow the executive branch, we'd like to get a justification for why their numbers are, why their treatment for themselves is different from how they're treating executive branch agencies. And finally, I pointed out that their offer is $1 million for tax cut, $372 million for transportation. We have a $1.5 billion surplus remaining after the reinsurance. So there's $1,372,000. That's almost everything. Similarly, if you set a tax bill of $600 million, which I've heard from some sources is what that might be agreed to, that's still, along with transportation, that's $972 million. And that's money taken out of the general fund for this biennium and the following biennium and the following biennium. In fact, with tails, it'll be greater. So, basically, they want to shortchange a lot of other areas we think are very, very important: higher education, E12 education, in order to have a maximum tax bill and transportation with long-term effects that I think are putting Minnesota in a very precarious financial situation. These are the leaders.
Governor, the Republicans have said you're reluctant to do global budget targets on all areas. You want to do it kind of piecemeal, as you've been talking about. Why is that?
Well, I care about the details. We presented, the way we agreed on Saturday, we would present first offers in 4 areas. We did that yesterday. We had the details, what we had previously, and then where we were making the cuts. They came back today they didn't discuss it with us, but they came back today with numbers for everything. And so now we just need to agree on these numbers. Well, the numbers have details attached to them. As I said, $372 million for higher education, for K-12 education, E-12. I mean, that's everything in a 2% formula. So it's like, again, what do you not want to do? I mean, their numbers differ significantly, about $420 million from the midpoint, which is where we said our frame of reference would be. So, you know, I mean, just picking numbers out is not satisfactory to me. I want to know the details. If they want us, they're going to cut the state government by $40 million. Tell us where that is. And they want to provide $3.3 million for premium cigars, which they slipped in the bill after they gave what the Commissioner Bauer, which they said was a final spreadsheet yesterday, and they slipped that in. So where does that $3.3 million come out of? Special education, you know, early childhood. So I mean, you know, again, we're trying to get reconciliation, but I'm not prepared to just say global targets. So that's the crux of our difference on the budget is the difference on spending priorities. And again, they made their priorities clear: $1 billion tax cut, $372 million general fund for transportation. That's $1.372 billion taken out of the general fund for this biennium and subsequent ones. In fact, it'll increase in those biennia. I mean, that's a huge decision to make, and it affects all the other areas of spending, and they want to just sort of pick a number. So we said, tell us what your numbers are. Tell us for E-12. Tell us for environment, which is a $15 million cut. Tell us for state governments, $40 million cut. Tell us what you want us not to do.
So any progress today?
Well, I thought we made progress. We came back with further counteroffers on the 4 bills that we agreed upon on Saturday were the ones we were going to start with. We came, as I say, another $48,670,000 below the $74 million that we had cut the first time. So we're, as I said, I think $122 million. Somebody do my math. 174 and 40. I used to be able to do that in my head, but anyway. $124 million thereabouts we've come off of for those 4 bills. You know, I mean, they came off $115 million off the tax bill in their first offer. I mean, so we come off spending more than they came off in taxes. I mean, but we can go back and forth on this. I mean, the fact is we have major differences, and again, I want to know the details of what how they justify the kind of cuts that they're proposing for E-12 for state governments, environment, and come back with that. Well, you know, then we'll have postal global target. We can still have health and human services. You know, they still have the transportation where they've taken that money out of the general fund. So I mean, you know, but we're making progress. We had 3 days of serious discussions, and I think we made progress.
The speaker said that he thought a more transparent process for Minnesotans was to do the big picture with the leaders in the closed door room, and then let the conference committees sort out the details with the commissioners. I take it you disagree on that process?
Well, they closed the conference committees. We said the parts agriculture, part on public safety, corrections. We agreed, offered in this offer, $10 million for corrections, $5 million for public safety, and said our commissioners and policy staff will work with your chairs to work that out. But we were available in conference committees all from the very beginning. We had all of our commissioners, we had our policy people. We put 190 pages of our specifications in front of them, and most of that was largely ignored. So I'm not, there's some things willing to turn back over to others, but on E-12 education, I mean, they want me engaged. They got me engaged. I'm not going to just sign off on some kind of cut on E-12 and say somebody else go figure that out. I care enormously about what's funded in that area and what's not, and so we'll have to thrash that one out ourselves. Higher education again, the same kind of concerns. So, I mean, they want a transparent process. It wasn't very transparent for the last 24 hours when they snuck all these bills through and added premium cigar things that nobody had seen, the conference committee had not seen before. So, if they want a transparent process, make it as transparent as they'd like. They haven't suggested any more transparency in the meetings we've had, so they come out rhetorically for it, but tell us if they want more transparency, tell us how they want it.
Anything else?
So, where from here, or are you going to be around?
My understanding is they'll come back tomorrow with details on the offers they made on E12 education, environment, and state governments. We also tasked Commissioner Piper and Lauren Gilchrist in our policy office, and their chairs, Senator Benson and Representative Dean, who was not present today, but tasked them with reconciling some of these disparities on the health and human services. They got a $470 million savings in their global target, and we need to know what constitutes that in real dollars, and also, again, in real cuts for what services or payments to Minnesotans. So if they can, put a dose of reality from both sides, both in terms of the Healthcare Access Fund, we have to revise that downward based on the assumptions we made in January, and in terms of some of their inflation numbers. So, and they have the expertise. So there's an example of where we have turned it over to, not to the conference committee, but to the chairs of the conference committee, and our two experts said, can you work this out for us? Because that's an area where I don't have the detailed expertise. I don't think they do either to really delve into what's the basis for that. And that's a big part. If you look at their target proposal, $470 million reduction for HHS, I mean, that's a very big number. So we need to know what the effect is on real people's lives.
Did they say, Governor, that tomorrow they are going to come back? They told you specifically they come back tomorrow with some details of the global targets?
I told you what we asked them for. They didn't respond specifically what they intend to do, so I think they went off to discuss that among themselves. You have to ask them what they intend to do.
And if their intention is to start taking up those bills, no meeting tomorrow?
I'm not going to prejudge what they're going to do. At this point, we're following the agreed-upon path of negotiating and trading offers in writing, which we're sharing with you and with the public. And if they want to change the ground rules, if they want to pull out of those negotiations to take a different course of action, we'll have to see what that is and then see how we proceed accordingly.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.